Well, here we are again on yet another foodoffensive.com weekly update. That's right, this is foodoffensive.com coming at you from the front lines of our food supply. I want to first thank all those that have subscribed to the YouTube channel and have watched the videos so far and have given some great feedback. My aim here is to bring about awareness and action to what's going on in our around our food supply and the food that we're eating, and the good stuff and the bad stuff, and how to avoid the bad stuff, and how to change what we're getting down through our food supply. Now each week I cover some top news stories and then also some special reports, and we're currently in a series of special reports on soy and GMO foods, and this week it will be, of course, the soybeans and genetically modified soy. So what's in store for this week? Of course, top news story, and then a fourth installment on that new series of special reports on GMO. And now these special reports are several weeks of the where, what, how, and why, and then what products are genetically modified. And then also their effects on the environment, the health risks that they pose, and how to read labels. And then what, of course, finishing up with a little bit of action. What can we do to change it? So this week, a current news article. I've only picked one for this week, but it's a very important one. It's very huge in the fight against genetically modified foods. And the article this week is concerning GMOs and our future, because if we can stop this could possibly change and help stop GMOs, or at least get them labeled and at least get them to where we know that we are actually eating them. Right now they're not labeled and we really don't know when we are eating them. So this news article is titled "Help Stop Former Monsanto VP from Attaining Top Position at the FDA," and do this by signing the petition. And this is by S.D. Wells. It's an article on naturalnews.com. Now, it says the one man who may be responsible for more food-related illnesses and deaths than anyone in history is Michael R. Taylor. And he has just been promoted from the U.S. Food Safety Czar to Senior Advisor to the Commissioner of the FDA. That's a position which would enable the giant biotech company Monsanto to silently and legally feed cancer-causing vegetables to every living person who is not 100% strictly organic. Now, President Obama has appointed the former Monsanto vice president and lobbyist Michael R. Taylor to the throne. This is the same man who was food safety czar for the FDA when genetically modified organisms were allowed into the U.S. food supply without undergoing a single test to determine their safety or risks. This is like putting a terrorist in charge of the world's food supply. This is what this article says. What will the cancer numbers look like in 2016? And you can continue on with that question at www.counterpunch.org as well. Now the article goes on. It says the GMO nightmare all started with the Dan Quayle-led FDA GMO marriage. Under George Bush Sr.'s administration from 1989 to 1993, Dan Quayle single-handedly catapulted GMOs into existence through FDA's anti-consumer right-to-know policy, which stated that GMO foods do not have to be labeled or safety tested. Yes, you read that correctly. There is no safety testing required whatsoever to take some Agent Orange pesticide and genetically mutate the seeds of vegetables in a chemical laboratory so that nothing on planet Earth will eat the plant that grows from the ground. Well, of course, except for all the humans who have no idea what just happened. Now, Michael Taylor is a part of a revolving door at the FDA where Monsanto execs just come and go as they please. First, Michael R. Taylor was an assistant to the FDA commissioner. Then he left to work for a law firm in the 1980s to help gain FDA approval of Monsanto's artificial growth hormone. It's called RGBH, which is directly linked to cancer. Then he became deputy commissioner of the FDA in 1991 and was later reappointed to the FDA in 2009 by Obama. He is the food villain who tried his best to keep this, quote, malignant milk of the turn of the century from being labeled. Now, Michael R. Taylor is the epitome of everything Monsanto's represents. Taylor is like a vehicle for Monsanto's patenting of seeds and global domination of farming. He implements the government's, quote, favorable agricultural biotech policies because it's much more of a financially sure shot to use Roundup in food rather than to farm organically and ethically. If the investments aren't paying enough at the corporation, execs just switch over to federal regulations and write some new legislation based on tainted research, which allows them to pile more toxins on the American public and bankroll off it when they flip it back to the corporate side. The article goes on, of course, at naturalnews.com, and you can read it on there. There's a lot more than I just read from you. I just read the first part of it. And then you can also sign the petition at signon.org, and if you follow the link from the new from the Natural News article, it will take you to the exact page at the sign-on site to sign that petition. And they only need something like 75,000 signatures to help stop this, so it's very important that we take action in this. And then also, like I said, this is just going to be one news article in this special in this video broadcast this week, in this weekly update, and then I'm going to move on to the special report, and that special report starts now. And now for this week's special report. It's a continuation on special reports and a series of special reports on GMO. And this week is going to be focused on soy. If you remember, the last 2 weeks we've covered corn because it was it's such deeply rooted in our no pun intended, in our food supply and in our environment. Well, soy is a big one as well, and that's why we're putting this one next. Soy, we're going to look at the health risks, and published studies, and some products that soy is in. So what is GMO, first of all? Well, it stands for Genetically Modified Organism, or it's also sometimes seen as GEO, Genetically Engineered Organism, and it's an organism whose genetic material has been altered using genetic engineering techniques. Now, this is from the Institute of Responsible Technology, an article titled GMOs Are Not Safe, and we looked at this last week, but we looked at just the corn-specific studies that it shows, but this week we're going to look at some of the soy-specific ones. Now, it says GM foods are not properly tested for human safety. Although human studies are not conducted, adverse findings in animal studies have prompted the American Academy of Environmental Medicine to call for an immediate moratorium on GMOs. They cite problems with reproduction, immunity, digestion, aging, insulin and cholesterol regulation, and organ function. The following is a selection of studies showing these health effects. And these are the soy-specific effects, like I said, as quoted by responsibletechnology.org. The first one, liver, pancreas, and testes functions were disturbed in mice fed GM Roundup Ready soy, GM Roundup Ready soy. And then also, mice fed GM Roundup Ready soy over their lifetime showed more acute signs of aging in the liver. And then third, also another study showed that rabbits fed GM Roundup Ready soy showed enzyme function disturbances in the kidney and heart. And then also another study, and this is an article titled Genetically Modified Soy Linked to Sterility, Infant Mortality in Hamsters. In the Huffington Post, which is a pretty mainline news publication, it reported on this, and this is from, it reported on this article from Jeffrey M. Smith, who is the founder of the Institute for Responsible Technology, responsibletechnology.org, and he says this study was just routine, said Russian biologist Alexei V. Surov in what could end up as the understatement of the century. Surov and his colleagues set out to discover if Monsanto's genetically modified soy grown on 91% of U.S. soybean fields leads to problems in growth or reproduction. What he discovered may uproot a multi-billion-dollar industry. After feeding hamsters for 2 years over 3 generations, those on the GM diet, and especially the group on the maximum GM soy diet, showed devastating results. By the 3rd generation, most GM soy-fed hamsters lost the ability to have babies, sterility. They also suffered slower growth and a high mortality rate among the pups. And if this isn't shocking enough, some in the 3rd generation even had hair growing inside their mouth, which this is a phenomenon rarely seen, but apparently more prevalent among hamsters eating GM soy. Now a little bit, that concludes the article that was reported on by Huffington Post from Jeffrey M. Smith. But this is also about GM soybeans. This is from GMOcompass.org, GMO-compass.org, and it talks a little bit about genetically modified soybeans and what they are and the food that they're in. A little history on soybeans, the genetically modified variety. It says the first genetically modified soybeans were planted in the United States in '96. More than 10 years later, GM soybeans are planted in 9 countries covering more than 60 million hectares. These GM soybeans possess a gene that confers herbicide resistance. Soybeans are the basis for countless ingredients, additives, and vitamins. They provide nutrients for microorganisms and feed for poultry, swine, and cattle. It is estimated that soy plays at least a small part in the 20 to 30,000 products that are on the market today, whether directly as an ingredient or indirectly as feed or a nutrient source. So it's similar to corn in that it's in a lot of things, it's in everything, almost everything. Now an overview, soy-based food and feed. This is some of the items that soy is in, whether it be remnants or actual soy products, soybeans. The first one they list is oils and fats, and that can be margarine, vegetable oils, mayonnaise, and many other fat products. Also lecithin and other emulsifiers, which can be chocolate, desserts, baked goods, and other processed foods. Tocopherol and vitamin E, and those prevent oxidation in many fatty foods. It's used in vitamin fortified products, so it's in a lot of things there as well. Also soy protein additives, and soy isolate is what they call it. It's in prepared foods such as soups and sauces, and also meat substitutes, diet foods, imitation milk products, etc., and also non-dairy creamer. And the other day I picked up a carton of soy milk by Silk, and I was looking at the back, and they dedicated the whole back of the carton to showing this GMO labeling program that's going around, and it basically shows, it explains, it educates the customer. They used the whole back of this carton to educate the customer and talk about why they are going to these links to label it as organic soy milk. And it explains that, and it has the logo as you see there on the screen. And also it goes on to say that you can actually look up the code that's on the top of the carton and see where the soy came from, where the milk was produced. So I think that's important, and they're really going the extra mile there and showing that. But it also could just be like we've talked about in other episodes, where it's from a marketing standpoint. They see the need, they see the demand, and by us voting with our dollars, they have come up with that and using it in their marketing and showing that, hey, people want this, and so they're labeling it as such. And so it's important that we push this and really do vote with our dollars. And then another one here that they have, soy meal or semolina flour. It's of course used in breads and snacks and pastas. And there's also hydrolyzed soy protein. It can be, of course, soy sauce, and seasonings, and there's also products from actual whole soybeans, which a big one is tofu, and there's soy drinks, there's miso, there's soy flour. So as you can see, if you just think about all the things that that you eat and the things that soy is in. It's pretty amazing. And I've worked at places where I've had customers that were allergic to soy, and it's very difficult to give them anything. I mean, the restrictions are the list is almost infinite. The things that they can't eat, and it's similar to having a corn allergy, which would be unthinkable in our society, with all the products that we use that contain genetically modified corn and soy. So it's very important that we really watch what we're eating and what we're feeding ourselves, and that's what this foodoffensive.com website and weekly broadcast is all about. And so, in concluding with that on GMO soy, we may revisit this next week with a little bit of extra information, maybe some more articles that come out. But if not, we're going to move on to the next product, the next genetically modified product, so that we can continue this series and end this series soon enough to move on to the next item that we're going to look at, and that's going to be high fructose corn syrup, because that is, again, another product that's in so many of of the things that we eat. So I want to hit the big ones first and really hopefully help bring about an awareness to what you're feeding yourself and your family. And if you're a chef and you cook professionally like I do every day, then that would be your customers as well that you're passing that on to. And so it's important that we do all that we can to vote with our dollars and only buy the stuff that is safe for us. And that's hopefully what I'm trying to point out here, and the stuff that's actually safe for us. So in conclusion, the podcast is on iTunes. All of the past podcasts are up there, the audio versions and the video version, just as you're probably watching right now. And also foodoffensive.com, you can see the videos there and the articles that we post. And there's going to be a source section to come, and a document section, so you can just get all the documents in one place. And that's quite a project, so I'm still working on it, but it's a way for you to get that out there. And if anyone questions you and says, I don't believe you, or people have a hard time believing that things that are allowed into our food supply could be so dangerous to our health. They're in denial that could actually happen. Well, there's ways for you to show them and hopefully awaken them as well, and to create that exponential growth in this awareness of genetically modified foods. If you have something you want to see covered or be on the show, you can send your articles and info to showtips@foodoffensive.com or our regular email at foodoffensive@gmail.com. So thank you for joining me again on this foodoffensive.com weekly broadcast and weekly update with news and special reports. Look forward to next week. We continue with the special reports on GMO. And if you haven't looked yet, if you haven't seen yet, check out the Super Bowl party food exposed video. Hopefully have gotten a lot of people to see that and become aware to the things that we eat. And the things that we enjoy, unfortunately, can be very dangerous for us, so we want to be aware of those. But thank you for joining me again on this foodoffensive.com broadcast, coming at you from the front lines of our food supply. Thanks for joining me.